Not very full. Wait, who's that coming towards us? No, I don't like it. That's not natural. No, get it off the screen. Rappi! My videos save at least one person from great embarrassment in front of their boss every week. It could be you this time, so listen closely to what's been going on in the URC and elsewhere. Friday night, Munster versus Glasgow, a good crowd. What's not to like? Being Scottish and defending, apparently. Glasgow looked off the pace from the start as they put zero pressure on Munster. Tom Ahern just hung around on the wing and made meters all night using his 6'8" frame to make defenders look silly. The only way Glasgow threatened was by mauling and letting Johnny Matthews score yet more tries. That didn't help much as the game still ended at 40 points to 29 and Glasgow knocked off top spot on the table. 6'8". It's almost tasteless being that tall. What is his carbon footprint? An environmentally conscious 5'11" is way more attractive if you ask. The Bulls welcomed the Sharks to a sunny Loftus on Saturday. And the Sharks season from hell picked up right where it left off just before the Dragons interlude. Their only try was scored by the ref, for goodness sake. KLA, Moody and Villy all looked way more bockish than their Shark counterparts. But I only had eyes for Stedman Gans. He's finally fit and back to the form he showed during URC Season 1, that form being an efficient 5'11". Clearly the most desirable height for a healthy, virile man. The season's first Bok-laden SA derby ended up being quite one-sided as the Bulls ran in 44 lovely points to the ref-assisted 10 of the Sharks. The Welsh Shield still looks like a bucket of crabs, eh? This week it was Cardiff who hosted the Scarlets and then lost for some reason. Some reason might be a little disingenuous. The talismanic Ellis Jenkins channeled his inner Warburton and dumped the player in an unfortunate tackle at 27 minutes, earning himself a red card. That left his team to play with 14 men for the remaining 50 minutes. It's a lot of numbers there. More numbers. The final score was 23-29 for the Scarlets, and one might wonder if the red card did have an impact on this game. Many would say yes. But then one could show the many the Lions versus Dragons game in Johannesburg. Ruben Skuman copped a red card after 25 minutes and it's hard to point out if that had any effect on the game. Maybe the final score of 49-24 could have been a bigger blowout for the hosts? Tough to say. Having been in the crowd, I can say that the red card definitely affected the way local fans communicated with the referee. It's kind of bad in the current climate surrounding those guys. Next up was Ulster versus Edinburgh in Belfast. And for the second week running, the Ulstermen went into an early lead only to let their Scottish opponents back into the game later on. Stephen Kitsoff must be wondering if he's the cooler, cause that's 2 caps and 2 losses for him now. Jamie Ritchie, on the other hand, had a good night, winning man of the match in a 24-27 win for the visitors from Edinburgh. After that, we headed to Stellenbosch, where the local fans were treated to the return of Money and Damien from their World Cup exploits. Now, it would be petty of me to point out that the Lions put 60 points on Zebre. Last season's finalists only managed to put a workmanlike 31 points on the Italian visitors, having led by 12-7 at half-time. No. Reminding people that the Lions scored 61 points would be very petty indeed. Connacht took on everyone's favourite team to dislike late on Saturday at home. I'm glad I missed it, because few things upset me as much as watching the big scary team beat the plucky underdog in the final seconds of the match. It's really mean. And that's exactly what happened, as the hosts just could not hang on to the lead and let Leinster in for a 22-24 win right at the death. Last but not least, we got to see the continued rise of Benetton. Our new Italian overlords hosted the Ospreys in Treviso and bagged win number 5 from 7. The Ospreys did send a team of children to Italy and got within 5 points, so that's a silver lining, I guess. But the results column will forever show that Benetton beat the Ospreys by 18 points to 13 on their way to coming second against the Lions in the 23-24 season. And that was the weekend for the URC. The competition takes a 2-week break now as the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup starts this Friday night. A quick overview of the first 7 rounds of the URC shows that the Irish are still good. The Scottish have been better than last year. The Saffers all have hangovers. Half the Italian sides are finalists in waiting, and the Welsh are all playing with squads the size of basketball teams. Season 3 now, and I am loving every second. The news coming out of this thing has been so bad, I've been thinking about getting a new one. Did you catch my mention of the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup just now? The latest completely confusing iterations of these two competitions start again this weekend. Do not try to understand their formats or how qualifications for the knockouts work or how on earth South Africans are involved now. Just look at the games coming up and enjoy the weird DC Marvel crossovers these tournaments make possible. Saffers might enjoy the Bulls hosting the Saracens or the Stormers travelling to the Leicester Tigers, and maybe a little bit of Racing versus the Harlequins, if only to enjoy the blazing light of joy that is Siya Kolisi. The ugly gutter league that is the Challenge Cup serves up the Sharks versus POW, Cheetahs versus Zebre, and future ERC champs the Lions travelling to Perpignan. Now, I don't have any science to back this up, but avoid this league if you don't want to get an STD. Bad news again. Owen Farrell, who I will gladly say I rate as a player, has decided to take a step away from the international game. He will be missing the coming Six Nations and maybe even the tour to New Zealand because of this decision. He has said that he needs the break for his own health and for the health of his family, so he'll only be available for the Saracens in the coming months. Now let me think. A probably brutal World Cup training camp started for England on the 2nd of July. The first of 4 World Cup warm-up matches started a whole month later for England, and we all know how August ended for Farrell. The World Cup itself started on the 2nd of September and only ended like 2 months later on the 28th of October. England was involved in almost all of it, so that's 4 months of brutal international rugby by my count. And once all of that was done, the players got 2 or 3 weeks off and then had to go back to the English Prem to play in the very cold and yucky northern winter. If that was me, I would have peaced out long ago, and I don't get nearly the same amount of online abuse that Owen Farrell does. Go well, Mr. Farrell, and I hope you get some good rest. You're clearly one of the best 10s to ever do it. Yeah, I said it. And maybe his tackle technique would have been better if he wasn't 6'2". A 5'11" frame would be much easier to get down low when you're trying to tackle safe. Okay, fine. I will end this week's rugby update right there. I will see you all next week when we can talk about the Champions Cup and that other competition. Yuck. Bye.